Thank you, Governor, and like you, I'm a proud UH alum. Our faculty, our staff, our students have been completely amazing this semester. Upon their return from spring break, all of our classes went online with little preparation and notice. People's hearts have been in helping one another, faculty helping faculty, and students helping faculty, students helping students. It's been just amazing, and we're now preparing as we wind down the semester for a full class of students who will complete their semester, thousands of whom will graduate and move on to careers, to their homes, perhaps to graduate school as well. But as we start planning for fall, we realize this is not what we want our students to experience in the fall. So today we are announcing our plans to return to in-campus instruction at our 10 campuses across the islands for fall 2020. This will not be business as usual. We are not going back to the way it was in fall 2019 or even the beginning of spring 2020. Rather, we will be implementing in-person instruction in our classrooms, in our labs, perhaps even outdoors on our campuses, and it will be done in a safe, COVID-aware manner. We will implement social distancing measures in our classrooms, labs, offices, libraries, and study spaces. We will ensure that we have provisions for sanitization, hand washing with instructions for everyone. We will be making much greater use of online technologies. Many of the lessons that we learned this spring will be applied as we move forward. We will have a number of hybrid classes, particularly some of our large lectures. The lecture content will be moved online, and the interactive portion may be conducted in person in COVID-aware, safe manner. And we will be making sure all of our offices are safe for all of our employees as well. We will have in place measures for testing, contact tracing, quarantining as needed. We do expect to have our student residence halls open on our Manoa and Hilo campuses for those students who really need a safe place to live while they learn. While we are putting all of these practices in place to ensure a safe in-person fall 2020 semester, we are also acutely aware that we do not control the environment. And as the governor just said, there is a possibility that we will have a resurgence, another peak on one or more islands. And in that case, we will be prepared to revert to fully online instruction if necessary. We will use the lessons that we learned from this spring semester, and we will apply them so that we can do an even better job with the planning and preparation that moving online really require, with teams of faculty engaged over the summer based on surveys of students and faculty to tell us what they experienced this spring so that we can move forward in a high-quality mode if that becomes necessary. Right now, there is no better time for students to engage in higher education. Whether you are one of our many high school seniors graduating, and I also congratulate you, the opportunity to move into higher education to provide a better life for yourselves, your families, your communities, this is the time, and especially when unemployment will be facing so many of us in the community. It's also an opportunity for those who have lost their jobs, sadly, to consider whether returning to school and learning something new to get a new job. Now is the time for that also. Thank you.
Shivani Ramos from Kaleo, UH Manoa student paper. Will there be any quarantine protocols in place for mainland or international students when they come to the UH in the fall?
Absolutely. So our plan is to be in full compliance with whatever practices are required for the public health. We have already been in touch with state officials to understand those, and whether or not they are exactly the same as the 14-day requirements that are in place today, for the mainland, for international, and for inter-island students. We'll make arrangements to ensure that anyone who arrives and needs a place to be quarantined, particularly our residence hall students, we will provide a place for them and ensure that they can participate in their studies and be fed. And some of them may choose to come early. In other cases, we may make other arrangements, but we absolutely will comply with all public health requirements.
Another question for you. This is from Rickwan, KITV4. He's asking, what is the most difficult obstacle you face in bringing students back to campus?
I think the highest risk that we really face, I think, is associated with the residence halls. That was a call we made early on, that we wanted to keep residence halls available. We just have many students who have no safe place to go other than to stay with us. Could be a challenging home situation, could be an international student who has no place else to go, or if they leave, they may be going back to a less safe place or not be able to come back. So I think, managing those risks and really coming to that decision that we want to be there for our students was probably the toughest thing we've had to face.
Another question for you, Dr. Lassner. This is from Lauren Day, KHON2. What are your plans to host athletic games? Will UH sports continue in the fall?
We're not there with a plan for intercollegiate athletics just yet. It's complicated for student athletes, it's complicated for fans, and most of all, it's not something that UH can unilaterally decide. We play in two different athletic conferences. We play in the Mountain West Conference for football. So our games and our schedules are set collaboratively with the conference. We play all of our other sports primarily in the Big West Conference. And similarly, the decisions that we make will have to be done collaboratively with them. I will tell you that our athletic director is in regular contact with his colleagues at our other member institutions and with the conferences to try and figure out what a new normal will look like this fall for athletics. And frankly, the entire NCAA is also engaged in conversations about what athletics can look like. But clearly, if a university is not in session, intercollegiate athletics will not be in session.
All right, another question for you. This is from Ashley Mizuo. How does freshman fall 2020 enrollment look like? And you've already touched on the housing, but she wants to know, will students still be sharing rooms?
So we will be looking at the public health protocols that are in effect. Our residence hall occupancy is much lower now. I would expect it will likely be lower. So we will ensure that we have safety in how we handle our residence halls. When we didn't know what to prepare for after spring break, we actually had arrangements in place that if we needed safe overflow space or potentially even for quarantine and isolation, we did have a handshake agreement with hotels, which fortunately for this purpose, unfortunately for the economy, we have a surplus of empty hotel rooms with private baths, so that's turns out to be a resource in this case. In terms of enrollment, there's a lot of uncertainty for students, and it's one of the reasons we wanted to make this announcement today, so that our students and their parents would understand that UH is offering a safe opportunity for higher education, an affordable opportunity on all of our islands. Right now, the conventional wisdom is that some students aren't sure what to do. We extended our deadlines. In fact, we announced that here just, in COVID time. It seems like a long time ago, but it was probably only last month. That we were extending our admissions deadlines. We think we will have an uptick in local students, that there will be many residents of Hawaii who do not think this is a good time to go away to college. So that becomes an opportunity for us. We think international enrollment will be down, both because of the COVID situation, restrictions on travel, and difficulties for international students to get visas to come into this country. We are seeing strong interest from our what we call our WUI students, those who participate in the WICHE undergraduate education program with the Western states, where they get the states agree to share tuition discounts with one another. Probably not much uptick in the rest of our U.S. mainland enrollment. On balance, we could actually have higher numbers depending on what happens with our local enrollment in the fall.
President Lassner, another question. This is from Eleni Gill, Civil Beat. Are there plans to scale down services this fall semester if enrollment is lower than expected or if there are budget cuts?
Well, absolutely. We are anticipating that our budget will not be as robust as it has been. I think that's a fact of life that all of us are preparing for. We are looking at what we will have to do and starting to do some scenario planning for different levels of enrollment, different levels of financial resources. We also are trying to understand the impact on our auxiliaries, many of which are self-supporting. Our student residence halls are self-supporting, parking is self-supporting, bookstores are self-supporting. So all of those are, that's the charge we have laid out to ourselves with this announcement today, is to do that work over the next 2.5 months to ensure that we're ready for a safe in-person fall semester for our students, our faculty, and our employees.
Your message this morning considers the use of loaner laptops and broadband access for students, as well as upgrades to online learning software. Is there a price tag for all of this yet?
We do not have a price tag yet. So the work that I described earlier and in the note was laying out our work plan for these next several months. But it is our intention to make sure that students who do not have laptops or who do not have broadband access, that we can provide that through a loaner program. We also receive funding through the CARES Act that is designated specifically to help us prepare with an urging from the U.S. Department of Education to advance our way more strongly into online and distance learning. So it's a very appropriate use of those funds.
Dr. Lassner, another question for you. This is from Lauren Day, KHON. What would be the maximum number of students in one classroom? And if the class exceeds that number, where will students go? Are there enough large classrooms on campus to practice social distancing?
Well, the number of students who can go into a classroom is really based on the size of the room itself and the social distancing metrics that are put in place as part of our public health response plan. So whether that distance is 6 feet, some of us have been talking about New Zealand. They use a distance of 3 feet in some cases. Different countries use different distances at different times depending on what phase of pandemic response they may be in. So what we'll be doing is looking at each of our classrooms and implementing the appropriate measures. If we have too many students more students than can fit in the classroom designated, we have a number of options. One might be to move it to a larger classroom. Another might be to go into a hybrid mode and, as I mentioned, for the lecture portion of the class, actually record it, have the students watch the recording of the lecture, and then engage in interaction in smaller groups rather than in the large class. We can also add sections so that if we exceed the capacity of one room, we can add another section to ensure that students get the classes they need to remain on track to timely graduation.
From Eleni Gill, Civil Beat. 50% of higher education emergency relief funds from the federal government must be distributed to students as grants. What is the criteria for students to receive those funds?
We had already started a distribution methodology for the fundraising campaign we had launched with the UH Foundation, which successfully raised over $1 million before we knew about the CARES Act. And that money is all for direct aid to students. So what we decided to do with the CARES money that is required to be distributed directly to students is we used the same application form that we had already put into place, and we allow students to request aid which could come from either source. There are some nuances to the federal aid. It cannot be distributed to international students. It cannot be distributed to undocumented students. So one of the benefits of having one intake system is that if we get need expressed by a student who is not eligible for federal aid, we can support them with our private aid raised through the University of Hawaii Foundation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lassner.